Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by lineups.com. Nate and Josh coming to you guys with a Tuesday slate of 10 NBA games here that we're going to be looking at some best bets, got some sides and totals for you. Also have the player props that we always bring to you each and every weekday. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Continue to follow along all season with us. Let's go ahead and get into the first look we have here, Nate, as we're talking Pistons and Cavs. Should be a pretty decent game here. We got a -1 spread, but I do agree with you that I like the dogs or the favorites on the road here.
Yeah, basically no spread, and I guess it's due to the fact that the Cavs pushed them to overtime without Harden and Donnie Mitchell last week. Lost that game, though, and I mean, Harden coming back as the solo featured guy to me is as a fade spot, especially in a game with playoff vibes, right? This potentially being Eastern Conference Finals preview, whatnot, big spot with the Pistons. And I just think he could easily wilt under that pressure. All-Star Thompson being all over him, everything Detroit can throw at you defensively, just not making anything easy. Only the Spurs are better protecting the rim. The free throw rate has been high for Harden his last two against Detroit, but from the field, absolutely abysmal. 26% field goal shooting. And sure, the Clippers have won those games. It's usually because Kawhi, at least in the last meeting, Kawhi dropped a double nickel to absolutely carry them, and Harden, can fill in as a sidekick. And it'd be one thing if Donnie was out there and you'd be like, I don't know what's going to happen. Donnie might go for 38, and then Harden can help this team get over the hump. But with just Harden and these bigs who Jalen Duren certainly had his way with last time out, and now you reintroduce Beef Stew, I think Detroit will have plenty of advantages in the paint. They clearly have advantages for their primary playmaker. And just to look at like some of these numbers, like Cleveland 16-18 against teams above 500. Detroit 24-7. Like they always step up in these big games. Cleveland also very bad in one possession games. Been slightly below average in the clutch since the Harden trade, and Detroit is plus 37 in the clutch in their last five. So I'll take them in a close game.
Yeah, I like it too. I do like them in a close game. I just trust them a lot more right now. A little bit of stars out, bets up. Jared Allen played out of his mind. A couple other guys played well in that last game, but I still think they're ready for Harden ball in this one. But I'm going to go to the Hornets and Mavs. Just take the spread here. I'm not too worried about 11.5 when I look at the way that these two teams have been playing. And let's just say the last 10 games, where the Hornets have been one of the best teams for the last 30 games. But in the last 10 specifically, they've had the number one offense while playing at one of the slower paces in the league. Defense still in the top third of the league, really. So, they're still a force, and they've been winning games in their last 10 by a pretty healthy margin when they're playing against teams that are right at or right below 500. They have only failed to cover this against teams below 500 last game. I think Atlanta might be right around 500. And that was last game before the All-Star break, and a couple guys didn't even play in that one. So my point is they've been waxing everybody from Washington to Indy to Chicago, Portland. When you look at the Mavs, the only two teams that they've beaten in their last 10 are the Pacers and the Nets. And in the rest of those games, they are losing by an average of 14 points. So you do with that what you will for the Mavs. There's nothing limiting anything down low. One of the bottom 5 paint defenses, bottom 5 rebounding teams, and they've actually been playing at a pretty fast pace. So they're allowing a ton more rebounds as well, which is why once we start getting guys like Musa Diabate rebounds, if we can get a beatable number here, there's going to be some pretty good opportunities.
Yeah, this is picking up steam fast. It's just a classic matchup situation where Dallas needs to go to the rim to score. Charlotte gives up nothing at the rim, and Dallas is abysmal guarding the three-point line, and Charlotte is just red hot. So it's you just crunch those basic numbers, and you're like, yeah, I don't see how Dallas is going to hang, especially with Najee Marshall being out on top of Cooper Flagg being out. They don't have much. Pels are plus 10.5 at the Lakers. This just made me raise my eyebrows right off the bat. It seems like we're reading a little too much into the most recent results in terms of setting this line. Lakers blew out the Dubs and the Kings in certain spots. Pelicans, maybe they're deflated here because they lost by 20 to the Clippers. The Clippers just could not miss in the entire first half of that game. But it's also the return of Trey Murphy. And now that they have him in there, I think they're a legitimate average to above average team, which is, saying something in the NBA today. They would have covered 10 in 17 straight with Trey Murphy. So, prior to that Clippers game. So I'm not too worried about the plus 10 against a bottom 5 defense that is exploitable, that just flat out cannot protect the paint. You might not have Zion here. if you're the Pels. Otherwise, like I think the spread would be more like 8 or 7 at least, because he should be able. He would be able to just absolutely get to the rim here against Ayton and company. But you do have DeJounte Murray, the adult in the room, as you like to say, who, by the way, was very efficient against the Clippers before they just pulled the plug. Now, Pels are on a little bit of extra rest because their starters hardly played in that game. They're 9-2 ATS with 2+ days rest on the year. And Herb Jones has actually done a really good job on Luka in his last 4, not Luka numbers that you'd usually see here. Last 4 against Herb Jones, 21 a game, 38% from the field, 101 offensive rating. So very good job from Herb. And if you can slow down Luka, like this Lakers team, they don't have much.
Yeah, I do. I'm just not a fan of the Lakers in general, but right now the only thing that the Lakers have going for them is when they beat a team, they seem to be blowing them out by a ton. I don't know if you're scared of that. I'm not necessarily with the Pelicans either, who we continue to find value in, as we've said, because they have nothing to lose for. So they're a team that you can bank on coming to play. But two teams that, I mean, this would be an awesome matchup, I suppose, if we had like some Embiid versus Wemby type stuff. We ain't going to have it. We're not going to have any Embiid in this game. Still no Paul George. Everybody else around for Philly, but I mean, they're pretty reliant on Joel Embiid. And as it makes sense, Joel Embiid is one of the best offensive players that we've seen since the year 2, like in this generation, right? In this century, like he is one of the more dominant, more unstoppable players. So yeah, he probably is worth 3.5, 4. Like there's not many players worth that amount to a game in the spread. And I would say Joel very much so does get there with that. So you're saying this game is basically like 10.5. If you give him a couple points for the home court, fine. 7.5. Like I'm happy to take this. If it gets up to 8.5, fine. Like I think the Spurs do handle business here. Tough game against the Knicks. The Knicks are all over the map. I'm not going to try to tell you because at their peak, they are a finals worthy team when you look at the East. It's just a matter of when you're going to see their peak, and you just got it. But in the last 10 without Philly, this Spurs squad, after they've got a couple of nights now to at least get things together. In for the Spurs, I mean, without Embiid for Philly, 2-8 in their last 10. That includes 2 of those games with Paul George as well, who we know is also out. Those losses have been by a pretty decent margin, man. They lost to the Pellies by 15 there, lost to those Celtics the other 2 days ago there on Sunday. By about 16 points, got waxed by the Knicks, got waxed by Portland, had a really brutal stretch there where it's like, I'm in the same boat here where like, if you have a big that can score and you don't allow drives to the rim, then like, I'm not too worried about Philly shooting after that, right? Like Maxey, we know shoots better when he plays with Embiid, not without him. He definitely needs a bit more help to be shooting those spot ups as opposed to shooting off the dribble where he's not nearly as good. So I don't have much for you for why Philly would be able to score on this Spurs defense that has continued to be top 7 defense no matter what. Wemby in there, top 3 for sure. Like they're continuing to impress me.
Yeah, it's just a trump card when you have to focus on Maxey in terms of your number one option, no Embiid. Wemby is a trump card. Like he as quick as Maxey is in getting into the paint, like Wemby can still run the floor even in transition and deny those shots. So I like the Spurs here in terms of their offense and Devin Vassell. 12.5 points. Just stay hot. Just stay like what your season averages, basically. So, I mean, 14.4 a game on the season. Since the All-Star break, though, he's been absolutely lights out. 60% on catch and shoot 3. Catch and shoot anything. 12 points per game. You know, the shooting might be kind of unsustainable in terms of like north of 60%, but we're talking about 40% on the year when De'Aaron Fox is at least active and setting him up. And now you have Wemby at full strength to just drawing in the defense. And that's going to be the key here. Like you talk about why the spread moves so much with Embiid, like his defense is underrated at this point. Like he's actually been very solid down low. I mean, especially relative to Andre Drummond, if that's what we're stepping down to. In the last 8 without Embiid, Sixers are 121 defensive rating. And they've been in rotation. They've been absolutely torched, giving up 16.5 threes at nearly 40%. So, I mean, they're bad at guarding the spot up in general on the year. 8th highest frequency for the opponent, bottom 10 in terms of connecting on those. They're going to be worse without Paul George, of course, which has been the situation for a while here. But Vassell, I mean, he's just feeling, I think, you know, starting to really feel the rhythm of the game, not just hitting these shots, but actually getting to the rim as well. And is just locked into big minutes for the Spurs.
Yeah, love Vassell consistently. And yeah, this number here is definitely going to be one that I'll continue to play. Like, this is a 14.5 point player. So I do think you found a line that's a bit too low, just in market value speaking. So Cason Wallace, man, I think he turned a corner. I actually am willing to believe in sort of that 3-game spurt. Really, on the points, it was a 3-game spurt. On the dimes, it was the entire time that SGA was out. Cason stepped up big time as the point guard. And there's a lot of touches to go around. There's a lot of dribbles to be had when you don't have when you don't have J-Dub, AJ Mitchell. I'm trying to make sure I get all of them, and obviously SGA. Those are your 3 top ball handlers. So now you've got like a complete like dearth there. You have the opportunity for someone to step in. Cason did that with a bullet, man, averaging about 12 potentials in those games, hitting 8 a couple times, had basically averaged about 6.5 in that time frame without SGA. And I think that is the corner, because he is a player that you just expected to like do one of two. Like, there's not many options when he gets the ball, right? It was always like he's getting it in the corner in a spot up, either shoot it. If they run at you, you got 2 dribbles to the rim, and that's it. You're never really someone who you're like, let's bring it back out, let Cason decide what happens to the offense now. It never is that. He's never claiming that spot, but he's been playing from above the break. I don't mind the 14.5 points if that's still what it's at, but I think the assists are the thing that you're finding the market going to be a little bit slow on. And it's not super slow, because 4.5 is fair. That's what I thought it would open at, but I think this should be 5.5 essentially with the opponent, what it is, and with all those guards out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a ladder opportunity. 7, 8 dimes. Like, yeah, Cason is going to be the main primary ball handler here, creator, and the Bulls are absolutely vulnerable. So got to get an under in here, OG, and I just think this game is going to be really black and blue with the Knicks at the Raptors. So I'll go under 17.5 PA for OG. Not going to involve the rebounds, because there's a chance he'll be mixing it up a lot here. He might be matching up with Scotty Barnes a lot down there to get some boards. But Toronto's actually been embarrassed by your Knicks the last 3. I could see a little clapback coming. And OG has had really good numbers offensively in 2 of those 3, but still willing to fade him, because just recently his role has just taken a big back seat on the offensive end. He's still playing major minutes, still making a huge impact defensively. But since the All-Star break, 17% usage. He's 6th on the team in touches and passes. Like, Alvarado and Shamet are doing more playmaking than him. And the majority of his points are just coming off cuts and, paint touches, stuff that's not readily available against the Toronto Raptors. They do allow spot ups, but he's struggling with his shot as well. He's only 33% on catch and shoot and 27% on pull-ups since the break. Toronto also keeps you out of transition. Really good limiting points off turnovers, fast break points, the stuff that OG will eat off of. Pretty much just like a top 10 defense across the board, especially when they got Poeltl back in there manning the middle.
Yep. Nice segue to Poeltl being in there, because he is going to be in there, I think, for mid to high 20s, depending. I do think you can count on him for 26. I think he's got like a pretty high ceiling, around 30, 31. That's what he was playing, right? He would routinely hit 33, 34 minutes when he was playing earlier in the season. Now you got no Colin Murray-Boyles once again, so that does make sure that we don't have to worry about 3 centers in the rotation, which I think Poeltl's going to take the spot of probably Mamu at this point is the one who gets relegated to 3rd option from the center position, with occasional like big spurts from him. But more importantly, like, without a 3rd center out there, like, if he's in that number, that range, then like he is a 21.5 PR guy. When he's playing, that's when he's playing like not even full, right? Like, when he's at like 33, 34, we've definitely seen him up in the mid to high 20s in terms of the PR number for him. The points are especially low. Those are getting bet up, open to 9.5. They come up to 10.5. The 7.5 boards, like, I'm okay with. I do think that the Knicks are toughest to rebound against. I don't trust their starting center for the Knicks to be able to limit Poeltl. Let me put it that way. There's still opportunities for Poeltl to be able to hit mid-range and get all the way to the rim as well against Cat. So I think it's a good opportunity for the points, especially, but I added the rebounds in there just with the minutes I think he's going to play.
Mm-hmm. You couldn't even refer to Cat by name there. You had to say the starting center
over him. But anyway, that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are subscribed to that channel. Coming back with plenty more action each and every weekday. So until we see you next, happy betting.